Hello and welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis with...
Cody, how's everyone doing?
We call him Cody the Oracle, but, well, that hasn't actually stuck yet, but I like it. Anyway, we're going to continue on our quest of analyzing... It used to be 80 some odd. Now it's 90 some odd
It
policy.
keeps growing, man. Faster than we can do them.
Yeah, he's coming out. Andrew Yang is coming out with policy proposals faster than we can analyze them. But we are determined to make a podcast conversing about every single one of his policy proposals because honestly, he's one of the only candidates that does us the favor of actually publishing what he thinks instead of just selling merch and rhetoric like Joe Biden and Beto O'Rourke. So anyway, we're going to keep going talking about the top of his list, which has been added and I think is very interesting, ending bidding wars for corporate relocation.
Yeah, I believe it was the AOC made a big kind of stink about this recently with Amazon, one of the most recent corporate headquarters. New York won by giving them billions in tax incentives, and people were upset about that, and Amazon ended up pulling out. It kind of wasn't worth it to them. So one of the weird things about that is, though, I have to say off the bat, I see no problem with cities doing the math and saying, hey, we can give X amount of tax breaks to Amazon. And if they if they fulfill their end of the deal, we come out on top still. And ultimately, it's a win-win. I got no problem with that. However, and just really quick through, this is the main problem to be solved on Yang2020.com right here. It says that localities feel the need to bid large amounts of corporate welfare in order to entice businesses to invest in their towns and states. When this provides no net job growth in the U.S., many of the promised benefits often do not materialize as well. The goal is to end corporate welfare provided by localities to entice specific corporate relocation and investment. And as president, I will work with Congress to pass a law that treats any incentive provided by a locality to a specific business already based in the U.S. as special income to be taxed at a rate of 100%, and publicly call out any corporation that tries to entice tax breaks or other forms of corporate welfare from states. Which, like I said, I got no problem with that. That stuff sounds fine. The biggest thing to me, though, is I feel like really where the divide comes down to is if some city, and this is where you always you run into the issue. Okay. If some city is saying, you know what, man, in order to get Amazon here, I am willing to just sacrifice a lot of money I shouldn't. That should go elsewhere. Okay. Then it's not working as intended, and I support what Angie is talking about. But like I said, in other instances where a city does the math and it's a win-win, we get a little less in tax breaks, but because they move here, we benefit at a rate where it doesn't matter. I feel like it's a little bit difficult for the government to come in and say, sorry, doesn't matter. Don't care that you guys worked out a deal that works for both of you guys. We're not having it. It's against the law. So that's what worries me.
Okay. Yes. First off, this excites me that we're talking about it. Okay. Because I love it when third rails are touched. And to be honest with you, corporations' ability to dominate the political discourse on certain topics, especially defense contractors dominating the discourse on defense spending and, for example, jail for profit. I don't agree with a lot of what Bernie Sanders says economically, but I did appreciate that he was the only guy in 2016 and in 2015 that was speaking about the necessity of massive prison reform. Because we're literally having bills that are written by corporations saying, hey, this is how we could more efficiently.
Well, you want to hear something along those lines. This comes from an article from, I believe it's the Brookings.edu. So,
okay, the Brookings Institute. Go for it.
This is a 5 economic development takeaways from the Amazon headquarters 2 bid. Let's go down to number 3 here. And so the only creativity was the worst type of creativity. And elaborating, they say, in Amazon's request for proposals, the company encouraged cities to think big. But in most cases, the creative thinking was exclusively focused on incentive offers.
Which means how much money they're going to save by going there. So keep going.
Exactly. Cities varied in their strategic response to Amazon, but many of the proposals only offered existing economic development incentives. For example, New York's offer to Amazon, which used existing state and city programs, only scaled up to 50,000 jobs. And New York State's and city incentive offer for half of headquarters 2 has been estimated at $3.5 billion. Which, like I said, if the numbers don't line up, I don't necessarily report this as much as other times. But the interesting thing here, it kind of goes on to what you're talking about, is the largest incentive offers sometimes involve tweaking existing tax structures.
Okay.
For instance, Dallas would offer an incentives package for a site near the airport that would last for 99 years. The state of North Carolina passed new legislation that increased the amount of income taxes that would be rebated to Amazon, a practice that Good Jobs First is called paying taxes to your boss.
Ooh, brutal. Okay.
And the irony of this approach is that many of the highest tax and often most politically liberal states offered some of the largest incentives to Amazon, opening up a significant gap between what Amazon would pay in taxes and what the average business individual would pay. But like I said, it starts getting
well, and I
concerning
think
when
this
they're
is
rolling-
worth pointing out because first off, I am a huge capitalist. Okay, I love when Milton Friedman said the number one thing America could do to save its economy in perpetuity would be to end governmental interventions in all private contracts. So I am a huge person of. I'm a huge advocate of capitalism, but not crony capitalism. And I want all the Democrats to be listening right now. You will notice that the biggest states in the front running for Amazon's headquarters were the most democratic. The people that had the most crushingly oppressive taxes for the middle class were the ones that were able to create the biggest incentives for the large corporations, which is inherently, quote, paying taxes to your boss. And it's important to recognize this kind of thing. I don't like governmental intervention, and to a certain extent, I think that it's great these states develop these incentive programs like Atlanta for filming, or else like Louisiana, in order to recover from Hurricane Katrina, started adopting some really great tax benefits for filming. So a lot of filming and acting and entertainment was done in Louisiana for a very long time. I believe incentives are good, okay? However, all right, I'm a capitalist in that regard, but I'm not a crony capitalist. And please, Democrats, notice that the most generous states to the corporation Amazon were the most democratic. What does that tell you about the supposedly anti-corporatist message of modern progressives and the modern Democrat Party? That tells us that it's crony capitalism, which is totally different than regular capitalism. And I got to tell you, this is kind of like when you first go cliff jumping in like a large lake or a large body of water. I mean, you're standing there. You don't know whether it's for good or for bad, what's about to happen, but something's about to happen and you get that stomach drop feeling. When I look at Andrew Yang proposing that we tax 100% any funds that were given by a state to a corporation, I know that is a huge sweeping piece of legislation and is just like JFK said, every large piece of legislation has unintended consequences, that there is a potential for massive unintended consequences here. But at the end of the day, it does beg the question, whose country is this? Is this our country, we the people, in an economy with an established middle class that is thriving and inventing and applying its capital and its time and its entrepreneurship and everything it has into building itself to become better? Or is it the corporation's playground? And I find it so intriguing that now, I loved the interview that Tucker Carlson had with Adam Carolla. You need to listen to this. And as Elizabeth Warren is posting Instagram memes about ending the Fox News hate propaganda machine with pictures of Tucker Carlson on there, he's the only real major pundit right now that is talking about the threat that corporations have in their ability to outclass the U.S. government, as he said in his argument with Cenk Unger. All right? Or I'm botching that name. I know.
Close enough.
Yeah,
Close enough.
I don't even like talking about the guy. So anyway, I find it so amazing. In the interview with Adam Carolla, Tucker Carlson brought up a really good point. He said, honestly, I'm a liberal from the 70s or the 80s. You know, I don't believe in the power of corporations to save all of society's problems. They're necessary and can be a good big part of our society, but I'm not a corporatist. I'm a free speech advocate. I believe in the equality of all man. I'm basically a 1980s liberal without the wind chime earrings. And what's interesting is I really feel like in this piece of suggested legislation, Andrew Yang is actually kind of like a 1970s liberal without the wind chime earrings. Am I going wrong, Cody?
No, I mean, like I said, the big takeaway for me on this is kind of a sad one, is that this law has to exist because, I mean, going through here, it seems like a lot of cities did just race to the bottom. Who could offer more tax breaks? Who could offer more incentives? I mean, you go through some of the goofier stuff. I mean, there was a town in Arizona that said they renamed themselves Amazon, Arizona. I believe there was a city that purported to make it Amazon University. I mean, there was other goofy stuff, but the idea the federal government would have to come in and say, hey, look, you guys can't be trusted to not sell your cities out just to win over, the newest toy, the Amazon headquarters. So we have to actually have a law that prevents you guys from crippling yourselves for potentially decades just to win over the next cool thing. So I think that's kind of sad. That's what I take out of it. I mean, that's more or less what I read into it, that there's no reason why these cities should not be able to come up with good deals, but it seems like they're not.
This is what I see as a small business owner that I suspect would be good. I'm not able to lure, as a small business owner, another large corporation that would benefit me by its proximity to come to my hometown. I'm not able to give out $1 million, not even $100,000 tax incentives so that people that might fit my business can come and play with me in my sandbox. I'm not able to do that. And I think this law could actually greatly advantage small business owners, okay, because it would force every single state, instead of being able to make special deals, it would just have to make a deal to everybody. It would just have to be a business-friendly state. Instead of being a wildly unbusiness-friendly state with crushing environmental laws, bureaucratic red tape everywhere if you want to start a small business, New York, instead of having red tape for all the small guys and then a wide open playing field for the big guys, they would be forced to become beneficial to everybody, including small business. Part of the reason why the middle class is dwindling is because middle-sized businesses are under so much pressure while the big guys aren't even paying corporate sales tax. This, I actually think, is a really good idea. And to be honest with you, it sounds like it came from the Small Business Chamber of Commerce and a bunch of Republicans, not necessarily a guy with a D behind his name.
Well, I mean, he says all the time he is a capitalist. And this is, I mean, like I said, you can look around and you can just look at what recently happened with Amazon. It's going to happen again if no one steps in. These cities are going to basically tank themselves to win Amazon. I mean, I don't want to, hold on, I want to step back from that. Some of these people are not, I don't want to give sell them too short. Smart guys do a lot of math, or smart guys and girls do a lot of math, and they figure out what's sustainable. However, I do think when you bring in more cities and the bidding gets more and more intense, it only takes one city to just say, fine, let's pull the trigger and let's give them too much. And then it only takes one to really hurt, an entire state perhaps for an extended period of time. So that's not a good thing either.
Okay. And this is an important topic. I know earlier I went like that because I was about going to say that, it sounds like a boring topic for some, but this affects all of us because our commerce and our economic mobility is the engine that drives most of our lives forward. So please like, subscribe, and share this video, and comment below. Let us know what you think. And if there's any of Andrew Yang's platform policies or suggested policies that you want us to cover we have not covered yet, we'd love to hear from you. This is Problem Solver Politics.